Coming up in the next countdown LBL. Coming up next video. Title, next video. Description, skip to this video now. Transcript for Catalan president may declare independence. Hey everyone, on a bus here in New York with an aid being big story developing overseas you probably haven't even heard much about, but it's been 8 days since residents in Catalonia overwhelmingly voted for independence from Spain, and that vote, a lot of people are saying, has now triggered the worst constitutional crisis in Spain in the last 40 years and that country. Let's go live now to Barcelona, where BBC's chief foreign affairs correspondent Terry Ran has been covering the story on the ground. Terry, you've been talking to folks there. That referendum vote was marred by some unprecedented violence. What's it like there now? Well, I was here last week on the web. That vote happened and you're right, there was violence in the streets. When the Spanish government sent in military police to stop that vote from happening, they couldn't. They got a pretty good turnout, and 90% of the people who did go to the polls ended up voting for independence, to declare independence for this region, the region of Catalonia, and break up state. So what happens now? Well, they haven't actually made the formal declaration yet. So today and this evening on the streets, or we're standing right outside the parliament, where tomorrow the head of the government here is expected to make a speech to declare an offense. No one quite knows what's going to happen. There's a real sense of uncertainty and tension. People can't believe that the logic of events, that what's happening is really happening, and the possibility, not just of independence, of the breakup of Spain, to say now that of what would happen to an independent Catalonia. What the response of the Spanish government would be. Both sides talking very tough right now. The Spanish government saying they will not allow this to happen. And there is a provision of the Spanish constitution which allows the central government to take over the government here. It's got about pessimistic provision in accounts detective who think about it. But they have the power under Article 155 to dissolve the government here and take it over from Madrid. That would cause real clashes, people believe, in the streets of Barcelona. And here we are seeing some of those clashes that happened all under that voting date just a week ago now. It's incredible to watching. You're talking about the Madrid-based government there in Spain sending troops down. We're seeing people being flung around as they're standing outside some of those voting locations. 900 people were injured on that day, but help us understand that, because a lot of folks are just getting up to speed on what this conflict is based on. So what accelerated it? Why did the people of Catalonia want to secede in the first place? Yeah, it was a hugely egregious, angering Arab by the Spanish government to send the troops in to beat people who were just peacefully assembling to try to vote on this referendum. The Spanish government, out court, had ruled that it was an illegal, that referendum. So the government sent in troops to stop it, didn't, and ended up in that terrible scene. So why did these people here want to be independent for what is Catalonia, but it does Barcelona? The whole world knows Barcelona. They get 12 million tourists a year. They had the Olympics here at the beautiful city. It's the capital of this region. Catalonia of about 7 million people. They like to say if they were independent, be about the size of Denmark, or maybe Austria, it'd that kind of European country. And why they want to be independent? One, history. They speak a different language here. Can't tell us. They have their own ancient history. We got a history lesson today from one of the spokespersons for the government. They feel different, have always had their distinctive traditions, and have always been in some level of tension with the central government. But what really triggered it is a couple of things. First, the financial crisis. This is the richest area of Spain. Spain's GDP comes from this region, and they feel they pay too much to the central government. They'd like some of that money back. They tried to do a deal around that back in 2010. That fell apart. And I think the people here feel that the government ran the country's economy into the ground, and the financial crisis, they picked up too much to the load, and they want to get free of that. Another thing that happened was this British government's reaction to all this. They have been tough from the beginning. They arrested mayors and school principals were going to allow their towns and their schools to be used as voting places. They confiscated millions of ballots. They put 101,000 police here on the streets, and all that, I think, increased the sentiment that, wait, we can no longer be part of a country that is treating us like this. And then finally there's just something in the windy. There is this dream that has been buried in Catalan folk songs and art and literature that is now seeming to come alive in front of them. Cannot tell you, people are excited about that. It is almost logic in the events here. The streets are coming alive with the possibility, with the banners, that flags of the capital and nation hanging from the balconies around town, that this really could happen. And I think they have momentum in the events which has brought things to this crisis. Well, carry that momentum, that excitement on the ground. That is obviously something that the Madrid-based Spanish government does not want to see. That they said they do not want this to happen. Now that this vote has happened, as you mentioned, overwhelmingly in support of independence, now that they're on this path, is there any way off fifth? You know, that is a great question. We are in a moment of extraordinary politics. Ordinary politics is when you keep talking, cute doggy had to do a deal. All or you go back to the voters and come back and attack the problem next round. That's over here. On the one side you've got a declaration of independence, they've crossed the line into this extraordinary political space. And on the other side you've got the Spanish government saying there is no such thing, and we will not allow it to happen. They've got to open the space again, and what will do that? Well, one thing is the reality of what it would mean to step across that line. This is a very wealthy province, but there are already major banks, major companies that are pulling out of here. This one of the richest parts of Europe, and they're saying too much instability, too much uncertainty. Would this new country of Catalonia be part of the ELA? Would have be it is little states in the middle of Europe. No one knows, you know how. Bankers, financiers, corporate heads, they hate uncertainty. That's already you're seeing that happen. And there's been a necessity to avoid violence, so much so that it may be that the European Union itself could step in and say time out. Let's talk right now. You know, the Spanish government, which represents them, the people of spectacle Spain, don't want this part of Spain to secede. They're saying, well, talk, but put the gun down. Don't declare independence. That they aren't. There's a non-violent movement. I don't mean that they are armed here, but they are at the extreme level of back to declare independence. And the spending comes as we are gonna talk, and they put that away. And people of this region are saying we want to talk but treat it as equals, and right now none of that happening, so they have to open that space for dialogue. I don't see it right now. Well, Terry, we should point out that you know of the about 2.5 million people who did vote, there was overwhelming support for independence, but you've talked to some people there on the ground in Catalonia who don't necessarily want to be an independent country, right? That's right, so that the referendum. This is about 7 million people in Catalonia, about 5.5 million ELA's eligible voters. They got out about so little under 2.5 million, so they didn't even get half the eligible voters, and of those 90% came out to vote for independence. That is the mandate that the government is taking and saying this was a vote that was called. The people that showed up, 90% voter, but if you do the math, gave 43%. Turned out they got 90% of that 38%. And there are people who say that does not represent the true wishes of all the people of Catalonia, because a lot of people stayed on. They were afraid of the violence. A lot of people, like the folks we talked. A family here in Barcelona that is mixed. Some of their grandparents are Catalan, they're Spanish, like a lot of people are. Their families are both. They speak Spanish at home, capital, and as well, the father is a small business owner and a medium-sized business owner, actor, and he's saying you have to move out Barcelona where he was raised in order to continue to do business. But one thing, did you get the sense from talking to them, is that they really don't know what's gonna come next, and while they aren't afraid at this point of violence, they see it approaching on the horizon. Nicholas, I think in recent days that definition by of course they have to. Okay, he went dark, you know, we talk. But as always he think it's 10, and what it meant his neck with when potential impact. Cute, he'll have to talk. Okay, so keen with, but the government has been down with. Do you think there will be violence? It's what happens tomorrow. If tomorrow is going to be different months, immigration against the Spanish bombings, and to stop it, and it's going to be rights. Violence, no, but at least were investments that would, yes, right, it's right into Kansas, right out of bars, and this one days. Maybe you would hope that you've both sides. That's month. Note 2. Precedents. That's one in Laurel graft, because it is a good thing they don't know what's gonna happen next, or should that have been in places him in Ukraine, not at a revolutionary moment. In Egypt, that a revolutionary moment. And did that tension there, the sense that things could break out, violence was much higher. People here still don't think that's going to happen. But that I'm certain, that cloud of uncertainty and that momentum of events, anything could. Terry mentioned tomorrow. Well, I'll be watching, of course, away, and that capital and government there convenes, and we expect some sort of announcement, something to happen moving forward. Why we expect leaders there to say how we expect it will be received. It's obviously the world's going to be watching tomorrow afternoon. That's right, the world will be watching to mark this kind of flipping, maybe tomorrow evening, which shows the kind of pressures that are on this government. Carlos, We do, Mom. Who is that? The head of the government here is gonna make a speech. Read, the parliament is right over here. And what he has said and indicated is that the referendum contained an imperative, a command that this parliament will declare independence if that's what wins, and that's what won. So he feels bound, democratically bound, by what the referendum said, and he has indicated that he will in fact vindicate what they told the people that were voting for and held declare independence now. Maybe there's a little wiggle room in there. What he first said that night that the results World War announced is that the people of Catalonia have won the right to be an independent state. And there's some people talking about independence light. Maybe could say we've won the right, that our declaration we will do so at some future date. There are certainly people that would not like that. They want independence now. But yeah, they don't have control their borders, they don't have the central bank, they've got no economic certainty about what comes next, though they're going to be part of the EU. We're not. On the other hand, there was so passionate about this when I imagine that they're governed by police. Did you know what? George Washington didn't know what was coming next either, and that's the way I feel. He's added 1775. Here, 1775, year before a declaration, we're gonna get to 1776. No matter what, so while everyone is encouraging and pressuring both parties here to find some space, that momentum is cutting the other way. It's just incredible the level of uncertainty that half that could move forward. Taylor ran on the ground there, fourth and Barcelona. Thanks so much, Carrie. It's talk to you. And thanks to all for you watching as well. Remember, you can go over to abcnews.com anytime to get the latest on that story. Arcade, download ABC News app, get all this breaking news headlines. Frontier. For now, I'm on the 5. And see back here soon. This transcript has been automatically generated and may not be 100% accurate.